Hello! So this evening we're taking another look at the Fenix Airbus in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which was updated while I was flying yesterday. While I was actually trying out the updated Fenix, there was another update to it. And we are going to repeat the route that I tried yesterday that I didn't actually release to YouTube that went horribly wrong. So this is from Ljubljana down to Sarajevo. I think there's an old saying, isn't there, that only a crazy person repeats exactly the same thing again and expects a different outcome, but we're going to have a little bit of faith and see what happens. So I'm just worrying, actually, looking around. We've got the Airbus parked here, but there seems to be a lot of liquid on the ground beneath the aircraft. I don't know whether I should be worried about that. Hopefully we're not spraying fuel all over the floor. So, if I turn the camera around, you will notice I have upgraded Ljubljana. So, this is Ljubljana in Slovenia. We are going to go and have a little look around the airport before we take off. So, it's stuttering a bit here and there. That's just Flight Simulator doing its usual game with loading in assets and having a bit of a meltdown about doing that. So, it's just loading the aeroplanes in that are nearby. So, let's go and zoom up into the air. You can see it's got custom taxiways galore. And so on the airfield side of the terminals, it looks very, very nice, doesn't it? Very, very good. So we'll go and have a quick look over at the control tower, see what they've done with this. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? What a view. You can almost make out the various bits of data on their screens. But I think that one of the major takeaways from this, if we go zooming back up into the air again, is on the other side of the airport they have really gone to town with this. So many of the buildings have got interiors, which is like, just crazy anyway. But just looking around the airport, it's fantastically modelled. It really is something else. Every corner of the complex has been dealt with and done in extreme detail. There's even an old aircraft down here. So is that a DC-6 or something fairly similar? It's very cool, isn't it? But the entire airport complex has been built. If we go and have a look down here, there's an aircraft in the maintenance hangar. That's pretty cool, isn't it? If we come back down towards the flight line, we'll have a little look inside the terminal building. Because again, it has been modelled, it's quite wonderfully done. It's just madness, isn't it, that they've gone to this length. It's got the various screens on the gates, it's just absolutely crazy. We'll fly down the terminal to the far end, you've got all the glass modelled. Very, very cool. All the shops and the cafes are all in here. It's just absolutely crazy. You could get lost in here. Well, I am lost, but obviously, thankfully, I can fly through a wall to get out. But absolutely amazing that they've gone to this length. So I'm going to exit here and go and have a look down by the FedEx terminal as well. It's just crazy, isn't it? Just how good this is. So it has another ace up its sleeve if we fly back up towards the gates. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work. It may not for departure, but it certainly works for arrivals because it's detailed in the instructions of the scenery. The electronic signs here work. Yeah. So there's various, I think they're in front of all the gates, but they work and they signal to the pilot, certainly on if you're taxiing into them. So there's a small application you have to run in the background when you're running the simulator. That it launches automatically with the scenery, but you have to install this small presentation application, I guess, which runs the display boards. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked, aren't we? So we're in the Fenix today. If you've not seen the Fenix before, it's a very, very accurate Airbus. So it's much better than the stock Airbus, and it's arguably a lot better than the fly-by-wire Airbus as well. I mean, they're both very, very good. It's just more complete, I think. And obviously, if you go and look round, the modelling of, you know, the structures and the material modelling is just out of this world, really. It's madness. It really is. Okay, so should we get this show on the road? I'm going to put my Xbox controller that I've been using to control the cameras to one side, and we will press the insert key, and that puts us back inside the aircraft. And this actually answers a question somebody had for me the other day, asking has it still got the dirt on the windscreen, and you can see that there's the track of the wiper blades is left on the glass, so the sunshine picks it up. It really is something else, isn't it? Okay, so I'm just going to double check before we get started that I've got the correct profile working. So got the Fenix Airbus A320 set up for my throttle quadrant, which is the most important thing to check. We're also going to go and double check inside the tablet what we've got. So we have to hold our fingerprint on or hold the mouse button on, and that logs us in. And we can go to the Fenix page or Fenix application within the tablet, and we can go to panel states and just make sure, yeah, we're on the cold and dark panel state, because we're going to do the full workup from the beginning. So if we go to the My Flight and tap to import from SimBrief, we can dismiss that. It's just complaining about the time that we're flying at. So let's have a little look around. We want the mass and balance page probably first, but we'll need to come back to this while we're programming the aircraft up. So first things first, Control 5 takes us overhead. We can go and turn on the batteries. External power is available, so we'll switch it on. We turn the external lights, the strobe goes to auto, nav and logo goes to 1. I'm following my own written checklist for this, by the way, that cuts out a lot of the tests that the real crew would do. So it's kind of just pared down to the essential things, and I'll put a link to the checklist in the notes of the video. So APU, master switch goes on, and then the start button. It takes a second until it will register. It's worth pointing out actually, the Fenix is very good, everything takes a little while to happen. So back overhead still, we're going to go and turn the crew supply to on. I'm going to put the emergency exit lights to armed, and the no smoking sign to auto. And then on the inertial navigation system, we're going to switch each system, so there's 3 of them, to nav and wait for the fault light to go out for each one. So the second one. There's the third one. Looking good so far. If we want to check the status of the inertial navigation system, we can move the knob around to status and put it on system 1, and it'll tell you how many minutes you've got left until it's ready to go. Okay, so now we can go down to the MCDU, so Control and 1 takes us straight to it. We press FMGC, we can clear out this message here, and we want to go to the init page first, and we're going to go and put on where we're going from and to. So it's LJLJ is the ICAO code for Ljubljana, and we're going to LQSA, which is the ICAO code for Sarajevo. So drop that in. We can give our flight a number, so we'll go VFL123, just make something up. Cost index, we're going to make up a cost index. We're not going to do this 100% accurate to the pack of information. We'll have a look at that in a moment. From the flight plan from SimBrief. Operational flight plan, that's the term I'm trying to think of. So what altitude are we flying at? We're going to be flying at 29,000 feet. This is the summary of the operational flight plan. We can actually view it as a PDF if we want to from SimBrief, and you get the actual real pack the crew would use and for the real deal. But we're going to look at the summary for the bits and pieces we want. So 290 will give us the same thing as 29,000, which is done. We can go to wind and fetch the wind. So we'll press that. I think this comes from SimBrief actually. Somebody will obviously correct me and say no it doesn't, but I suspect it does. Anyway, iOS initialization, we don't need to really look at that. Okay, so we can clear out the wind data uplink message there. And we go to the sideways arrow on the init, and we're going to put in the 0 fuel weight and the 0 fuel weight center of gravity. So we're going to press Control 3 to go look at the tablet. So we want to load the aircraft based on our SimBrief plan. So if we reset all, we'll go and fetch it from SimBrief again just to show you this. So we'll tap to import from SimBrief, dismiss, go to mass and balance, and then load aircraft. And you can say how quickly you want it to happen. We'll say instantly. Obviously otherwise you have to wait for all the passengers to get on board and you'll be here all day waiting for them. So our 0 fuel weight is over here, 68.7. You do it in tons, so 68.7. So, oops, I pressed the wrong button here. So Control 1, we put in 68.7. But we're not just putting in 0 fuel weight, we're also doing centre of gravity, so we put the slash in. Press Control 3 again to go back to the tablet, and we want this centre of gravity from here, so 31.2. Slash 31.2. We can drop that in, and then we're going to put in our block fuel. So we can go back to the tablet to do that, and we can find out how much fuel we've got planned and in tanks. So 6.4 is the number we want. So Control 1 comes back to here. So 6.4. Drop that into the block fuel. And that's the init part of the system done. So then we go to the flight plan. So obviously we put in our departure and destination, but we've done nothing else yet. So we'll go to Ljubljana, and we'll go to departure, and we're going to describe how we're going to leave Ljubljana. So we're going to leave on runway 12, and we're going to do the loopy 2D standard instrument departure. So you can see that's lined up across there. We're not doing a transition, so we'll just insert that. And then we can click on LQSA to arrange our arrival. Normally you wouldn't do this until you're in the air, but we're going to do it today. ILS runway 11, and we're going to use the Boston 1N standard terminal arrival route. So you can see that's shown across there, and that's all fine. Insert that. So that puts a lot of waypoints in the route for us already, but it's still not complete. If we go and have a look at Navigraph, we're actually going to go via several other waypoints. So after we get to the end of the standard instrument departure, we're going to go to 4615E. So there's the manual bit. So you can see Lupix and then manual. If we zoom in here, look, there's Lupix. That's the manual part of it. So we'll remove that out and straighten this out as far as the aeroplane's concerned. So 4615E, 4615E, and we will put that after manual. Okay, so it's actually gone down to the next page. If we push this along, there it is, look. So then we want to go to Comar, so K-O-M-A-R, drop that in after 4615E, so there it goes. Then we want to go to Maril, so M-A-R-I-L, and I believe that's it. Then we're on to Bosna and the beginning of the standard terminal arrival route. So there it is, there's Bosna. So the first thing we'll do then is clear that gap out there. We'll scroll back the other way. We'll clear this out. We'll also, clear. We have to clear the manual first. You can't clear a discontinuity following a manual, so we'll get rid of that. And then we'll get rid of that. And that solves that. So then we come further down, and after Norpi there's another gap to Rivas. So if we look at that, what this reflects is there's the end of the standard terminal arrival route, and there's the beginning of the approach. So there's another bit in here that it's not going to make it up for us. We're going to have to say we'll just go direct between them, so delete it, and it will go straight from Norpi to Rivas. Yeah, so it's going to fly straight across there on its own. Okay, that's it. So we can insert that, and the flight plan's done. All the numbers will update. There they go. If we press flight plan, it will go straight back up to the top. Okay, we need to go to the performance page next. So we need to put in our V speeds. So the best way to find this out, if you go back over to the tablet, there may be a shortcut for doing this. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. So we can go into the departure performance page in the tablet, and we can sync the load sheet with the aircraft, which fills the numbers in, and we can also sync the live weather, and then we can calculate the takeoff performance numbers. So we want 156, 157, 159. So let's go and do those first. 156, 157 and 159. We also can go and fill in the flap details. So if we go and press Control 3 again to look over here, you'll see flaps should be 1/down 0.2. So back to the tablet. So 1/DN 0.2. And we can drop that in there. Flex temp, so we'll go and have another look. So flex temp was 55 degrees, so we'll put that in. So 55, and this engine out number 2774 it says at the moment. Let's just double check it against here. 2280 it wants here, so we'll go 2280 and drop that in, and we can clear out the message. I believe where it's saying GPS primary and everything's come alive now, it's just said it. When we finish doing this, we'll probably discover, yeah, that's all done. We'll probably discover if we press F now, yeah, the screens have come alive. So as soon as you get the attitude indicator showing up and the route showing up, it basically means that the inertial navigation system is working. Okay, so Control 7 takes us to the master control panel for the autopilot. Did I say we were going to 29,000 feet today? So we're going to go and preset the... Whoa, that's going very fast. We want 29, don't we? 29. And we'll click the top half of the button, which means pushing it towards the aircraft. That's managed mode, which is indicated by the dot. Same for speed and heading, they're already on managed mode, which means it's going to follow the flight plan basically. We can set the barometric pressure, so I've done B to do that, which is a shortcut in the simulator. So it's set the QNH on both sides of the cockpit and on the backup altimeter. We can uncage the standby attitude indicator, so we'll just hold the knob out until it stabilizes and then let go of the knob. There we go. Okay, so back overhead. Seatbelt sign goes to on. External power can come off now because the APUs have plenty of time to fire up. If you want to check the APU, you can come down to this screen and press the APU button, and you can see it's generating. So press Control 5. So we're going to go and turn off the external power now. Then we're going to go back down to the tablet and go into the Fenix app and go to Ground Services, and we're going to remove the ground power unit and remove the chocks and the cones from around the aircraft. So we're basically getting ready to fire the aeroplane up and to do pushback. Okay, so Control 5, beacon light goes to on. Fuel pumps go to on. And we perform pushback. So, does this have, I've not actually looked at this, does this have pushback built into it? Has it got a pushback assistant? So if we go to Ground Services, can it do connect tug? Yes, it can. It can help us do it. So tug is connected, and there it goes. I've never tried this. So we can come off the parking brake. I guess we press the back button and we should start rolling. Do we have to do it more than once, or hold it on, or start even? Oh, there we go. So going in a straight line or turn. So we're wanting to go that way. So will that mean turn that way? That's perfect. Very cool. The airport looks amazing, doesn't it? So I bought it from Sim Market. If you search for Ljubljana on Sim Market, you will find it. It's not very expensive. Now, obviously, in the real world, while pushback is happening, they would be starting the engines. So we will stop the pushback, put our parking brake back on, disconnect the tug, so he will hopefully pull away from us, and there he goes, and we can start engines at this point. So I'm going to use my controls to do this. So I'm going to turn the ignition system to start. Actually, no, not yet. Let's just go back overhead a second. I need to put the APU bleed on. You'd think I'd know this by now, wouldn't you? So, if we keep an eye on the screens as well as the switches, so we're going to turn the ignition system to start, and then start on engine number 2, and it's not doing anything. I had this happen the other day actually. It was being very temperamental on me. There we go, it's starting this time. I'm not sure if it's to do with controls or the aircraft itself, so you can see now the N2 number is increasing. So we just wait for the engine to stabilise. The startup sequence on the Airbus is entirely automatic. So in the real world you would be able to start the engines while you're pushing back, but obviously I've only got one pair of hands. Whereas if you had a pilot and a co-pilot and you weren't actually watching the tug either, because in the real world the tug is given the instructions and they just push the aeroplane out. So you can get on with doing things without actually watching what's going on. So when this goes out, we can go and start the other, when the highlight disappears. There we go. So start engine number 1. Is it going to let us? What is going on with this at the moment? There's something with the switch gear going on here, so I'm just going to start the ignition again. I'm resetting the ignition switch, and then there we go, it's working. There's something odd going on with the Airbus quadrant. It doesn't like the Fenix, or certainly the switch for ignition start doesn't. So we'll just sit and wait for that to happen. when the light goes out, we can turn the ignition system off and go and remove the APU bleed and turn the APU off, because crossfeed happens automatically in the Airbus, so the power will be switched over to the engines. You just heard it happen. Okay, so ignition system off, and we can go back overhead. We can go and turn off the APU bleed, and we can turn off the master switch for the APU. And we are essentially getting ready to taxi now. So we can go and put the flaps to setting 1. So we've moved the lever, and you can see them travelling over here. Now you can see some messages over here. So predictive wind shear is off. So if we move this armrest out of the way, it's the little switch here. Put it to auto. We also need to go and put the TCAS on, so we'll switch it to TARA and turn it on. Obviously, if you're using ATC, they would give you your transponder code as well. And we have a company message. That will be a load sheet, so we can go into the MCDU. If we go to the MCDU menu, there is a shortcut here. You can see ATC.com, and it will bring you straight into the ATSU page. Then we can go to the AOC menu, and we can go to received messages, and you'll see there's a load sheet, and we can accept the load sheet and come back and go back to the AOC menu. I mean, you can shortcut that by pressing MCDU. Yeah, so you can jump around the aeroplane in all sorts of different ways to see all these screens. So okay, so we'll go and put the nose light to taxi, and we will come off the parking brake, and we're going to gently taxi out to the runway. At this point I will put the head tracking on, because it's quite useful in the big jets while taxiing. I think we can get out at this end of the taxiway. Just avoiding this coach, although my wing's going to slice straight through him, isn't it? Well, I might pass over him. Kamikaze coach. Oh look, it's got a ghost driver. Oh no, it has got a driver. So we can go out here, can't we? Yeah. Okay, let's just get ourselves rolling. It's very picturesque around here, isn't it? How tight is this? Shall we have a look from outside? Oh, we've got lots of room. Flight Simulator really doesn't like loading assets in, does it? It's almost... this is obviously software developer speak, but there's some sort of threading issue going on there. Either that, or there's something in the memory management or the resource loading that it makes the simulator wait for. Okay, so we're just taxiing down to the runway. Won't take long. The developers of this scenery really have gone to town, haven't they? Every little detail of the airfield has been modelled. Okay, just coming up to the runway. So be a little bit careful with the speed. So just before we pull onto the runway, we'll go and have a look at the standard instrument departure chart at Navigraph just to see what it looks like. It's pretty much a straight out departure, but I just want to check things like the transition level. So we'll stop right here before we get to the runway. Put the parking brake on for a moment. So we're going to have a look at the standard instrument departure. So up here, transition altitude is 10,500 feet. Okay, that's the important thing we need to remember then. So we can go straight out onto the runway. So I'm going to turn the head tracking off again. Because it's quite important to be able to just see things easily inside the cockpit and click on them in a hurry if need be. So we're going to come out a little bit early. Onto runway 12. Okay, so flaps are set, autopilot's all set up, flight plan's in, we've got no messages here, we haven't got the ground spoilers on now, so we'll go and do that. We haven't set the auto brake, we'll put it on max. Okay, I think we're pretty much good now. Or maybe not good, maybe that's a bit too far. Okay, let's ease the throttles forwards then to Toga. So it's an electronic throttle system on the Airbus. It picks up all of a sudden, doesn't it, after spooling up. So there's hardly any wind today. I'm not having to correct much with the rudder at all on the runway. So we're just waiting for the vertical speed, for the indicated airspeed for the rotate marker to come past on the ribbon. So you can see it's just short of 160 knots. We go racing down the runway and we rotate at no more than 3 degrees a second. So there we go. Pull it out to about 15 degrees and gear up. And maintain course for a short while just to make sure everything is tracking as it should be. And we're accelerating so the flaps can come up. And autopilot on. And reconfirm the managed mode up to 29,000 feet. And we can pull the throttles back now to climb. So the throttles are now on the climb detent, so the auto throttle will manage speed according to any restrictions. So it will get out to 250 knots all on its own, for example, until we get through the 10,000 feet above sea level. So we're just coming up to 3,000 feet. Don't need the ground spoilers armed anymore. We should have had the landing lights on. I've completely forgotten that. That's me not following my own instructions, so I apologise for that one. Strobes are on auto. The nose light can come off now that we've got the undercarriage stowed. Shall we increase range a little bit on the display so we can see our route out? So we wait for 10,500 feet. Should we have a little look back while we're climbing out at where we left? Oh, it's a bit far away now. Say goodbye to Ljubljana. It's gorgeous, this part of the world, isn't it? absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we can go to my flight and see this on here. So while we're flying, we can play with some games with the system. We could say, for example, go to the ATSU menu and AOC, just check what altitude we are at. So yeah, we've got a few thousand feet to go yet. We could do a weather request maybe. So if we put in LQSA, which is the code for Sarajevo, we could ask for META and TAF report and send that in, and then when we come back to the received messages, you should find we've got the weather data, and there you go, you've got a weather report for our destination. So we can use that later to set our QNH. You can see 1025. So we're 1024 where we are at the moment, so it's not so different. Okay, so we're coming up to nearly 9,000 feet. Remember, when we get to 10,000, you'll watch the target on the airspeed will shoot out to cruise speed basically, and it will drop the nose to achieve the acceleration ahead of climb. So we're just coming to 10,000 feet anytime soon. Get ready, watch the target, there it goes. So nose comes down, aircraft accelerates. So it will favour getting to it's going to go for 340 knots, look. I'm quietly hopeful this is going to go a lot better than it did last time. So while we're waiting, it just comes through 10,500 feet, and you can see, look, QNH, it knows the transition altitude. So you can see QNH is flashing, so we have to pull the barometric pressure knob on both sides of the cockpit, which puts it into standard, so that's 2992 or 1013 hectopascals. We can get different information on this screen. We can clear it out if we want and go for status is normal, which is great. That's exactly what we want to be seeing. We can pull up the flight plan over here. We could pull up, actually it makes more sense sometimes to have progress here and maybe flight plan over there, or the other way around. I change my mind every time I do this about what makes more sense to have in which screens, and I'm sure the crews have all sorts of favourite layouts of information that are handy at different periods in the flight. So you can see we're just approaching 340 knots, and then once we get there the aircraft will climb more steeply. So we're going up to 29,000 feet today, which is obviously going to be quite boring to watch, so I will pause recording in a moment. We'll just watch that. Yeah, you can see, look, we're levelling out. Or sorry, the speed is reached the target, so it can now use the excess thrust to turn into climb rate instead. So the vertical speed has increased. If we zoom out a bit further on here, you can see that's our descent, so it's not that far out from it. Let's have a look. So on our route, we've got a little way to go. If we look on little nav map, that actually marks it in for us. Yeah, so we got top of climb. Sorry, that's top of climb, not top of descent. So we need to start descending shortly after Comar, basically. So I'm going to pause the video until we get to Comar, okay? Because otherwise it's going to be incredibly boring for you to just watch the land of Slovenia and the top of Bosnia-Herzegovina rolling past. We'll get to see, obviously, Bosnia when we start descending. So I'm going to pause recording and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so if you have a look at the navigation display, we are just approaching Comar, and shortly after that we've got both our top of climb and our beginning of descent. And the reason for that is because the Fenix Airbus doesn't climb very quickly. So, and this is obviously a very short route. So the rate it normally climbs to do a nice steady climb at high speed is only taking us up, you know, at quite a gentle angle. So yeah, it's quite interesting. So that immediately brought thoughts to mind about, okay, so once we do get to top of descent, we need to come back down. We need to be above 9,000 feet at Norpi. So we will target 9,000 feet immediately when we get into this realm. We may do a little early just on purpose. We may have to play with spoilers on the way in. So I'm just going to change the target altitude now back to 9,500 feet. Okay. Actually, we could go for 10,000, couldn't we? Yeah, let's do that. So if we target 10,000 feet, we're above 9,000, and we can hold there while we decelerate and set the transition, the barometric pressure for the transition altitude. Okay, so just before we do descend, let's have a quick look on here. So have we got the transition altitude for the destination on here somewhere? Is it on the airfield map, on the ILS one? 10,000. Yeah, that makes sense then for us. Good. Okay, so we're going to push the altitude knob. Interesting. Why isn't it doing it? Okay, I had to pull it and then push it. That's interesting. So I had to clear out, add a vertical speed that the autopilot had gone to. So you can see now, this will be interesting to see if it can actually make the descent that we're asking for. You will see a target here, so we are ahead of schedule. We may end up meeting it when we need to decelerate. If that green dot ends up below us, it means we're not on schedule, and you'll see a notification pop up on, I think it actually, yeah, it will pop up on the bottom of the MCDU. So it's saying enter destination data. So if we go into performance and go to the approach, we can put in the QNH. So can we remember what the QNH was for Sarajevo? We can look it up. So if we go open the airport and look at the weather information, it was 1025. So 1025 hectopascals goes in there. And we want the temperature as well, if we can get it, 15 centigrade, 15. And then we can clear that warning out, and we should be good to go. So we may get a notice if the aircraft can't stay. It's on the green dot at the moment, look. So it's targeted it on the descent. But if we can't maintain it, a message will come up and we'll have to help the aircraft by using the spoilers. So you can see there's the runway out ahead of us. So let's have a quick look at both the approach chart. So we're coming down towards Bosna and we're aiming for 10,000 feet, which hopefully we do ahead of time. You can see the little marker here showing when it thinks we're going to do it by. So we want to be above 9,000 feet at Norpi. I think we may have to descend a bit more quickly, you know. So I'm going to go for 9,000 feet here and see what the aircraft says about it. I wonder if it can still do it. This is saying, oh, I didn't retract the landing lights earlier, I just turned them off, so it was still showing them, which is rather interesting. That's just unfamiliarity with the aeroplane. I'm very rusty with the Airbus because I don't fly it very often. And not following my own procedures. It's very pretty out there this morning, isn't it? So we're going to keep an eye on this to see if it still thinks it can make it. We're still on the green dot at the moment. If we wanted to do it more quickly, we could expedite it by throwing the spoilers out. And by doing that, you will notice this should start retracting back towards us. With a bit of luck. Let's watch the... This is where it gets interesting on the Airbus. Yeah, it increased thrust to counteract the spoilers, so that did nothing. So I guess to defeat managed mode, you would have to go to vertical speed mode and manage the speed yourself if you wanted to come down really sharply. So it's gonna do its best. Remember, it still has to decelerate though, which is, this kind of scares me. We'll wait and see what it does. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt and let it approach the way it wants to, and see if it makes it in time. Now we know we're not going to get to Norpi at 9,000 feet. We can go for Adnan. We need to be above 7,000 to Adnan. So let's put 7,000 in. So that's the Rivas waypoint. We are coming down quite sharpish, aren't we? Maybe it will be fine. So we'll target 7,000. And maybe we use the spoilers just to help the airplane slow down so it gets a more shallow or more manageable glide path on the final part of the journey. So we have another company message. So we'll go to ATC Communications and we'll go to the AOC menu and Received Messages, and we got a VFLOPS message, no ADC required. I'm sure somebody can tell me what that means. So we're just watching this approach and making sure we come in pretty much on the numbers as much as we can. It's levelling out. Oh, of course, it can't come below 10,000 feet. Above 250, yeah, above 250 knots. So it's decelerating. So we'll help it do that to give it more of a chance. So I've put the spoilers out, which is obviously expediting the deceleration. So we're just helping the aeroplane out a little bit, so we're not gliding for as long. So you can see the length of the arrow is the rate of change of airspeed. I think it's projected to 6 seconds in the future of the airspeed you'll be doing. Okay, so we'll come off the spoilers. And we're just coming down to, the flashing on the QNH, so we want 1025 now. So we do that both sides. And we can reduce the range here. So we want to be above 7,000 feet when we get to Rivas, and then we're descending in. Let's have a look at the charts. Whoops, if I can remember how to do this. So ILS should be 110.7113 degrees. Let's just go and double check that. 110.7. Got 112 and a glide slope of 3.2. It's quite a, it wants more drag. Look, there we go. It's asking us for more drag. So we're going to put some spoilers out to help it. So how high is the airfield? So it wants us at Rivers at 5,400 ideally. So let's go for that. Watching what's going on. The airplane's starting to, it's on 250 knots still. It's coming down. The green dot's still in the middle, which is great. I've got a cat meowing behind me. I do apologise. He's asking for something to eat. He'll have to wait. He only asks me for some reason. He doesn't ask the rest of the house. I think he knows they won't get up and feed him, and I'll take pity on him. Okay, so let's see what's going on. So flaps, it's too early for the flaps, so I'm going to cancel that. So we're at 230 knots at the moment. It's going to make the turn towards finals. Almost down to, you need to press the landing system button to get the glide slope to show up, and you can see it's we're just below it, so we can go for approach mode and we can start feeding in the flaps just about now and put the gear down. We should have had the landing lights on actually already. I was so preoccupied with the rest of it. We should have done it at 10,000, so we're a bit late with the landing lights. We'll get the spoilers off now. We see the runway out in front of us. So I'm tempted to fly this myself, as I always am. I mean, we could go and put both autopilot systems on. We've got Cat 3 dual. We could do auto land. Is it worth it to see what the Airbus can do? See how well it handles an auto land, or do we just take over? I'm tempted to take over. Let me give myself a few moments to do it though. So I've turned the auto throttle and the autopilot off. So let's give the throttle a blip. I'm going to put it back to idle. Where would the next marker be? Okay, we're just about slow enough, so I'm going to put the spoilers out just to slow us down a little bit. We have some turbulence. Some good turbulence. That is being thrown around, isn't it? So I'm just going to shut the alarms up. I do like flying the aeroplane myself rather than letting the computer do it. Otherwise, what's the point of having a pilot in the cockpit? Okay, we're on full flaps. So we're looking for about 150 knots according to the primary flight display. We're a little bit high, so I'm just dropping us down onto the glide slope. There we go. now below the glide slope, so we are also a little bit slow. So the other day when I tried out the Fenix, it didn't like coming in at 130 knots. Obviously the conditions are different today. We've got a faster estimate anyway. So it looks like 150 might be the sweet spot looking at the primary flight display. So we're low, we need to get the nose back up. Although saying that, we noticed the other day that the glide slope very rarely matches the PAPI lights. Hopefully we'll be able to see the PAPI lights before too long. So let's have a look. Can we see them yet?
500.
I'm going to press F.
Speed.
Okay, so we can see the PAPIs now. And we've got 2 reds, 2 whites, but the ILS is way different. So it's saying we're a little bit low on the PAPIs. So we'll just keep the nose up for a moment. So it's still saying we're low, but we look very high, don't we? Now we're on track.
100.
Now it's saying we're high. It's a very steep descent, isn't it?
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. Retard.
Oh my word. Ignore that. There's always something that happens, isn't there, in the simulator? So you either get the ILS doesn't agree with the PAPI lights, or in that case, a data issue popped up. It's worth pointing out that's entirely the server's fault. That's nothing to do with the local internet. Because we have got 500 megabit. We've got fibre to the house. So I really need an upgrade for Sarajevo, don't I? I know it's been improved, but it's still quite... It's not what Sarajevo actually looks like. But then I guess what is the chances of me doing the flight again? But yeah, it's quite the difference from the Ljubljana we just left, isn't it? In terms of fidelity. How does this line work then? So let's press I don't think it's altogether accurate somehow, but we'll do our best. Okay, so parking brake on. Do we have external power? I guess we can have it anywhere because of the controls in the tablet, can't we? So we can go to ground services and we can say give us a GPU regardless, and give us some cones, and then without using the APU we can go to external power and we can turn the engines off. So, which I can do here. So we have various different ways of doing that. We don't have to use the APU if we've got external power, which obviously the tablet in the Fenix lets us do. And it's saying arrived, commence deboarding. So deboard. And then you get to see, I guess the mass and balance is going to show the people leaving, is it? Do we get to actually hear them? Not sure that we do. So surely those numbers will start going. Do we need to turn the seatbelt sign off for that to happen? probably do. Oh, we had the seatbelt sign off the whole time. We turned it off in cruise and never turned it back on. That's bad. And we didn't, taxiing in, we didn't do lots of things. We haven't turned the landing lights off. We haven't turned the strobes back to... Oh, they were on auto, so they're fine. The beacon light can come off now the engine's not running. But yeah, so obviously I'm not following the procedures at landing. I was most interested in seeing how the plane came in over the runway. It wasn't actually too bad. I didn't do the best landing ever, but not a major issue. Okay, we have a company message. Another one. Is this hate mail this time, do you think? So let's go to ATC. I'm just going to turn off the head tracking for a moment. And we'll go to the AOC menu and receive messages. Arrival message. Nothing. Just gives us our time of arrival. And, oh, they have started to go down. Yeah, brilliant. So the people are leaving the aeroplane. You can see that it's slowly emptying. So I guess I ought to go and stand out in the hallway. Does the door open in this one? Or maybe it doesn't. Or maybe you have to unlock it. Cockpit door. Unlock. Oh, I thought it might have worked. Can we walk through it? Yes, we can. Oh yeah, there's nothing modelled. Okay, that's how they've saved a lot of frame rate then. Right there. So there's probably some options in the tablet about that, but I'm not going to delve too much. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that little flight from Ljubljana down to Sarajevo. I might upgrade Sarajevo because it is a nice part of the world. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.